Now, I have a different perspective on the blockade. Actually, I agree with my colleague that it affected tourism, but that made us also make very quick adjustments. I'm sure all of you will agree that almost 80% of our dairy products used to come from our neighboring countries. Today, we are almost self-sufficient.
The government also took very smart, intentional decisions in the weeks and months immediately following the blockade. As my colleagues have already hinted at, the work to determine alternative supply lines, find alternative sources of imports, that was very important, and a lot of government resources were put into that.
On the statistics side, seeing that trade balance has increased in a way, and the trade numbers. And on the investment side, and more companies coming to Qatar specifically, has increased. And almost 10 days ago, I heard from a firm that there's a lot of entities that used to operate in neighboring countries that now started opening offices in Qatar.
Okay.
So that has also raised the number as well.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the liquidity in the system, where is the shortage in the liquidity within the system? I mean, I'm just so to understand, is it on the private sector side? Is it on the government spending side?
I think that's a very good point. So when His Highness the Emir came to power, the first thing he did was to talk about fighting corruption and controlling spending. And with the great assistance of His Excellency, the Minister of Finance, who was here this morning, they started looking at where do we spend more than we should. So they started cutting budgets to prepare the economy, even before oil prices went down. And when oil prices went down, I think the state of Qatar was more prepared than the other states to deal with that because they controlled the budget. They cut unnecessary spending.
I think it fits with the strategy to focus resources on LNG. That seems to be the future of Qatar's energy industry. Just some general thoughts on where it's going next for Qatar. Obviously, it's no surprise that the demand is coming from the Asia-Pacific region. Yeah. We have China aggressively moving from coal to gas for domestic heating, to a lesser extent power generation. India, too, is moving to gas, and Southeast Asian nations like Thailand and Indonesia. So I think moving forward, it's going to be Asian-focused.
Going back to the interest rates, I don't believe the interest rate will be kept high in U.S. because it's not sustainable. I think by the end or by June, maybe July, second, third quarter of 2019, the Fed will go down with rates and ease it again.
Actually, you see, the World Cup is only a catalyst for 2030 vision. Mm-hmm. So if you notice, all of the railway system is already completed now. That's being commissioned as we speak. So we can't say we're building everything for 2022 World Cup. But the opportunities that came up for the 2022 is to speed up these projects.
I first came to Qatar in '95. And if I recall right, the total population was almost 600,000 people in '95. Today, you're talking about almost 2.4 or 2.6, it depends who you're asking, million. So there's 2 million people that came to the country, and they consider this somewhat a home, and they didn't leave even with the blockade.